Welcome back to the Red Stool, and today we're talking about My Hero Academia, chapter 346, Super Hyper Entrapment Stage. Shouts out to TCB Scans for the early release and all the great work they do providing the chapters for us ahead of time. Thanks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, but let's get into the chapter. And of course, as we know from last week, things didn't go exactly as All Might planned out because Deku currently isn't inside of UA to face Shigaraki with Bakugo, Best Genis, Edge Shot, Mirko, Nijiri, Sun Eater, and a litany of other heroes. But that doesn't change the fact that the heroes, they absolutely brought their A game and they're ready to play. Within seconds, Shigaraki has actually been flung into the electromagnetic barrier that's now surrounding UA by Best Genis. And it's actually set up to, it's not just a barrier, but it also can deliver a lethal electric shock. Or it would be lethal to anyone who didn't have Shigaraki's regenerative abilities. But what it actually does is it forces his body to tense up and contract, which could actually cost him a couple seconds. And even for somebody like him, that could be costly in this war. And Best Genis definitely lets him know about it. I love how he's still giving his how unclean and unkept stick, even as he's facing down such an enemy like Shigaraki. However, since Deku isn't there to use his float and Black Whip to kind of try to keep Shigaraki suspended in the air indefinitely, it all works against their favor because Shigaraki, he knows this. He quickly disintegrates Best Genis's gene threads that he used to entwine him with, and he's going for his go-to move. He's going to hit the ground, activate his decay quirk, and destroy UA from the inside out. But the way Hatsume and the principal redesigned the UA barrier, it's basically composed out of all of these smaller little bricks of animatronics and robots that can move around individually. So it's one mass, but it's almost like it's been put together by a bunch of separate Lego pieces, if you will. And it's genius because the minute Shigaraki touches the ground, because of the way UA works, it now can be sectioned off so it can't spread. And they also fire the brick off of the ground, sending him back into the barrier where he can get electrocuted again. As they go into how it all works, they have all of our electric users, which is Kaminari. They have the manga kid from Class B. He's actually has the kanji for bzzz, and he's using that to create electricity with a couple other kids from UA. And they're creating all the energy that the school needs, not only to fly in the air and create the electromagnetic barrier, but they can actually replace anything that Shigaraki destroyed. This is just an amazing plan by All Might because they've actually used everyone to their full potential in this design, which they've weaponized UA against Shigaraki. And Best Genis, he goes on to say, like, we didn't just fortify UA, we created your coffin in the skies. And just from that alone, it tells you the tone and the direction that the heroes are gonna take going forward in this fight. They're not here to just capture Shigaraki. They're going to stop his destructive, wantless rampage once and for all. And this actually makes me feel like maybe it's a good thing Deku isn't here, because we know that in his heart, he was feeling like Shigaraki could be saved and that he's just an innocent kid who was manipulated that's lashing out. And right now, in this situation, we can't afford to have differing ideals. Everybody needs to be on the same page, and everybody who's currently locked inside of UA with Shigaraki, they won't have any problem getting rid of him for good. So, of course, Shigaraki realizes, okay, me fighting inside of UA isn't the best for me. I got to get out of here. And as he lines up to use one of his quirks, Impact Blast, to try to destroy the new electromagnetic barrier around UA, it's, of course, here we get it. The Phantom Thief. He steps back onto the stage And now he's using Eraser to prevent him from using his quirks, which, of course, I know we all predicted going forward that that was going to be a big part of this too, since Aizawa said he couldn't use his quirk anymore due to the fact that he only has one eye. And I love how just through and through, Monoma, he's Monoma. He's laughing, sitting in this chair, taunting Shigaraki. And it's just hilarious. I love how even in like the face of this new Demon Lord 2.0, he doesn't change up. And this is where I gotta say I love the writing, because Horikoshi has taken this super powerful character like Shigaraki and he's put him in this corner, realistically, where it feels like he could lose this fight, even though they don't have Deku. And I just really like that, because going into this, I was wondering, well, what are they going to do with Shigaraki? He's too powerful now. Who can really go one-on-one with him? And I love this answer by All Might. This basically forces Shigaraki, now he has to think on his feet. And I'm not going to lie, what he comes up with in such a short time is actually pretty smart. Because don't you know that his left hand, the one that's deformed, and it just reminds me of the hand of the guy from Scary Movie 2, the small hand guy. And just as I didn't think his hand could get any more freakish, he actually uses one of his quirks to mutate and create this mass of like 20 plus hands, where he actually ends up grabbing Mirko out of the air because she's on her way to attack him. And what I am thinking right now has to be what everybody's thinking. Okay, he's about to try and use his decay quirk to just one-shot one of the heroes, kind of take a shot at their morale. And even though Monoma, he's currently using Eraser, it's how many quirks can he erase at one time? Especially since it's not his quirk, he's using Aizawa's quirk. Now, we've seen Aizawa, the most I think he's ever done it to was 4 people. He erased 4 people's quirk during the USJ attack arc. So if Shigaraki activates quirks in each and every single one of these hands, just how much of it can Monoma stop? And it would almost give him a way of kind of nullifying or at least slowing down their methods of using Eraser. And, just being on Twitter, everybody, they're kind of counting out Mirko already. They're like, RIP Mirko, the pictures, everything, it's all going up. And I'm just going to have to, that's where I'm going to have to disagree with the crowd and say, I don't think that's what's going on here. Just because, looking at the panel, Horikoshi, he's always illustrated the decay quirk in a very specific way. So I didn't really see any of like the decay patterns forming on her body. But what we do end up seeing in basically, which is the last panel, is it looks like Aizawa is using Eraser in one eye. And it immediately makes me think, well, what if this is like the first plus ultra moment we found in this war? And it's Aizawa awakening his quirk and the ability to use it inside of one eye. And it just gives me the immediate callback to when Shigaraki had his fingers ripped off by Redestro, but he figured out how to use his decay quirk anyway, and he awakened his quirk. Plus, they're both emitters, so it will line up with everything that Horikoshi has laid out throughout the story for that to be the case, which is going on right now. And if it is, like, that's got to be one of the hypest moments in this chapter, just Mr. Aizawa stepping up, even though he's technically out of the fight. And I would just love that. But this actually does bring me to my personal favorite part of the chapter, and it's the simple fact that we're not going on break next week. So for me, that's amazing, because of course I don't want to have to sit here for like a whole week wondering what's going on. It's too much. I need to know now. If I could talk to Horikoshi, like, well, hey, like, real quick, if you could just, send me those chapters prehensively, I would really appreciate that. But as I always say, this is how I'm feeling. Please let me know how you're feeling in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Do you think Aizawa can awaken his Eraser quirk? Is it too late for him? Or are we going to see the end of Mirko right here? Did Horikoshi just bring her out for hype and he's saying, okay, she's out here for hype and collateral damage? let me know. Thanks for sticking around, watching the review. I'm going to see y'all later, all right? Peace.